So I cover the Baylor women, and just talking about women's basketball a little bit. So South Carolina continues to reign atop the poll. Um, Although for the first time this season, the Gamecocks were not the unanimous number one this past week in the top 25. One voter gave a number one vote to Indiana, and the Big Ten has been strong this year in women's basketball. So I can kind of see that, although I don't know, South Carolina still hasn't lost. So if you had them number one all season, and then you all of a sudden you change that, I don't know. It's an interesting thought, and I haven't even looked up to see who that voter was, but
it wasn't you.
It was not me. So here are the last 6 finishes in the NCAA tournament for Don Staley's program. So 6 years ago, national champs, Elite 8, Sweet 16, COVID, and they were 32-1 the COVID season. So they probably would have done all right. Final Four, and then national champs. So my question is this: has South Carolina maybe supplanted UConn as the premier program in women's college basketball? What do y'all think?
I think so, for sure. And I'm here for it. I love that. I think that it is a little bit of a different era in women's college basketball, because I mean, remember when UConn was winning every year and they were so dominant that it like irritated people who were like, oh, this is bad for the sport. Like, oh, sorry, there's a really good program.
Right.
So like, we're not to that point, but I definitely feel like, just like the finishes that you mentioned, I think that South Carolina is there at the top, but there are still other programs that you're like, no, they could be in the mix. Whereas with UConn, you're like, why even watch the tournament? They're going to win every game by like 20 points. It's not even enjoyable to watch because they're too good. But the games are still, even South Carolina's games are I think they're very entertaining because they play so well, but their maybe dominance isn't extreme. But I like that I think what I like most about women's college basketball is like the aggressive scheduling. So you're going to see like super high quality games throughout the season. No one's like afraid to like, hurt their record or any of those things. They just like want to be on a big stage. And I think South Carolina has embraced that. And I love when there are big personalities, and Dawn Staley, she doesn't back down from anything. She says exactly what she feels. I love that. So I'm a fan of that program. I think that they have another great team and they have a chance again, but they're not to the point of, oh, just right. Don't even fill out a bracket. They're going to win it, because I think there are other teams that could win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about earlier on the podcast this year the fact that at 3 of the premier programs, UConn, South Carolina, and LSU, you have these coaches who will say just whatever the crap they want to say.
I love that. I love it.
I'm here for it, for sure. What do you say, John?
When you were reading off Don Staley's resume, it sounded a lot like Kim Mulkey's at Baylor.
Yeah. That was what she did at Baylor. You're right.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I think, there's becoming a little more parity. You don't want to see the same team win it every year. You want different teams competing for the title. And I watched a lot of that South Carolina LSU game on Super Bowl Sunday. And I mean, LSU, I thought they gave a really good effort, and they've got some pieces, but they're just not in the same league, really. I mean, when South Carolina wanted to take over, they took over and just pretty much controlled that game down the stretch. And but yeah, they're kind of the kingpins right now. But I think the women's tournament has reached a point where there could be an upset. And I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, no doubt. So I was off the Baylor women's beat for about 10 years, took myself off of it. That was a wise decision. And then I returned to it this season. And having returned to the top 25 voting, I will say this, that not only is there a little more parity, there's a lot more parity. And there's been weeks where I think 15, 16 teams in the top 25 lost a game that week. I mean, that's, I can remember when that was not normal. And so that speaks to just, there's good teams all over. And, yes, I think South Carolina is the best team in the country this year. And that program that, maybe everyone is chasing right now, but watch out for Stanford, watch out for UConn and these other teams at the top of the poll. Iowa is a really fun team with Caitlin Clark. They're just, fun to watch. So yeah, it should be an interesting NCAA tournament for sure.